So Barbara Kopple, your new film, This Is Everything, Gigi Gorgeous, examines the transformation of Gigi Lazzarato. Can you talk a bit about what attracted you to this story and what made you want to turn it into a film?
Oh, absolutely. I met Gigi and we just clicked. She's beautiful inside and out, like sunshine. It's so remarkable because I always love being able to tell stories about remarkable people who have courage and have perseverance and aren't going to let anyone stop them or get in the way of who they are and what they want to be. And I just considered myself very lucky to be able to do this film.
Well, talk a little bit about, I guess, the structure of the film, because Gigi is a YouTube star, and she had been documenting her transition with private videos. So then talk about taking that footage and then what you did to, I guess, help tell the story further.
Yeah, we sort of ripped every single YouTube piece that we could find on Gigi, and she gave us her private GoPros. And then we also filmed a lot. We filmed her family in Toronto. We filmed Los Angeles, where she lives, and her friends and all the things that she does. And we filmed New York, where she was in a fashion show, and combined all that. I did over, I don't know, 3.5 hour interview with Gigi, asking her the most personal questions. And we sort of used that as a spine of the film, along with her footage and along with our footage.
And what's interesting about this film is that it's not just about transitioning. It's also a story about her family and her family's reactions to this, and her family's growing to accept this. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, well, this was never really a film about transitioning anyway. It was a film about a person, and a person that has done so much for her community, for YouTube, really building something and really helping people. And when I was able to talk to her family, I've never seen a family with such pure love and such pure devotion. And even though her father, who's sort of this conservative Toronto businessman, probably didn't understand much of this, he thought that it was more important to really be able to have Gigi happy than to have the old Greg. And he just burst into tears, and he was so vulnerable and so wonderful, along with her brothers who just adore her. And I think that when you come from a place of love and you come from a place of communication, that's what matters. And in this world, what we need is communication. Gigi started doing communication so long ago and really told everything as it was. And I think that when you do that, and what this film is able to do, maybe people will look at this film and say, there's so much I didn't know and so much I didn't understand. And that will help other families who are going through this, and also maybe help people who have negative feelings to people who they feel are different, which would be sensational, be everything I ever hoped for.
Well, certainly, I mean, this film comes at a time when, in the last couple of years, really, transgender rights and transgender issues have been more in the forefront than they've been than I can remember. I mean, certainly, it's nothing new, but I think that there is this heightened awareness of these issues. Can you talk a bit about that and about the timing of this film?
I think the timing of this film couldn't be more important. We live in a very troubled and in a very violent world, I'm afraid. I mean, I'm afraid to turn on the news every day and to listen to what's happening, whether it's in London or it's in Paris, or some of the new rules and regulations that we have here in this country. So being able to make a film that really shines a light on people who are different, people who are minorities, is quite wonderful, and I think is going to be very helpful.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it also, it certainly helps that you're presenting, I guess, positive role models. You know what I mean? I mean, I think that for so long people have only seen negative representations of transgender people, and this film and shows like Transparent, for instance, they present positive images of transgender people. I think it helps to see people in that light in order to understand, right?
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, Gigi just personifies love. And even when she talked on her YouTube, she would say, if nobody understands you, and people are bullying you and people are hurting you, I'm here for you, and I'll just stretch out my arms and embrace you and care about you. And what it does is it makes people feel like they're not alone and that they have a community. And that's so important for all of us to be able to communicate like that.
Now, you've been doing documentaries for 40 years now. And you spoke about, you know, asking Gigi these personal questions, and I mean, you're going in to talk to her family. But can you talk a bit about, as a documentarian, how you, I guess, get at the heart of these very personal matters, and I guess get people to open up and talk about these things?
Well, I really love the people that I've filmed, and there's something about every one of them that I care so much about. And so I'm curious, I'm interested in them, I'm interested in what they have to say, and I try to find in them what I admire so much. And that's how I conduct my films. I never go into it with a preconceived agenda. I always allow the character to take me wherever they want to take me, go around whatever corner they want, and that's how I do my films. It's a love for people, it's a love for telling stories about people and being lucky enough to share those with other people. And I think too, one of the greatest feelings for me is being able to show my films at a live audience. I adore it. Because you feel the tenseness in the room, you feel when people laugh, you feel when people care about it, you can look into their eyes. I never miss a film that's screening if I'm there. Many filmmakers say, hi, I'm here, I'm ready to represent my film, but not me. I sit down and I watch it with them, and then I come up later and I answer any questions that they want.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, also, in filming this, yes, cinema verite type footage, right? I mean, you really have to be sort of a fly on the wall in these situations. Can you talk a bit about how you're able to achieve that, to be there in those really intimate, intense moments in these people's lives with a camera and microphones?
Well, you're not always a fly on the wall, but you try to, you throw in questions, you throw in ideas, and you're always there. But I think that what you want is to have your characters bloom, and people are always facing crisis, it seems like, or drama or something in their lives. And they're more concerned with that than they are with you. And we're always a very small, respectful crew. We keep our distance when necessary. And the person that's important in this film, for example, is Gigi. That she feels comfortable and she feels happy and she forgets about us, which is the most important thing. I mean, I did a film called Wild Man Blues, which is about Woody Allen and his jazz band. And I did the sound on it, and I stuck a wireless mic on him. He didn't even know when we were filming him. So and Gigi had a wireless also on her. So I just think that you want them to be the main story. you don't want to exert what you think and what you feel into who they are.
Right.
Around the most wonderful corners. They really take you places that you've never dreamed, or say things that you would never have thought that they would say in this kind of situation.
And that's something that you've been doing ever since the very beginning of your career with Harlan County, USA, one of my favorite movies. I wanted to ask you a bit about that because, I mean, coal miners are in the news again today. You know, that was your first film. So can you talk a bit about going to that part of the country and exploring that way of life back then?
Yeah, going to Harlan County, I think it's the film that changed me the most, that made me understand what life and death was all about. Everybody carried a gun, and the first morning that I was there, somebody got shot, and 2 or 3 days later, they were riding around, you know, saying, you know, 357 Magnums ain't shit. So I understood that it was a place that really was about life and death, and that people who had almost nothing were willing to risk it and to stand up for what they believe in. And in a sense, that's been the theme in almost all my films. I mean, Gigi is willing to stand up for what she believes in and to be who she is. And that's a big role model. That's a huge strength.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, that also
Captivating story. I mean, it makes it beautiful because you watch them change and you watch them really live out who they are.
Right, absolutely. And I mean, that's sort of indicative of the kinds of films that, I mean, you are part of this group of documentarians, like people like Errol Morris and D.A. Pennebaker, the Males brothers, who really helped shape the documentary format into what it is today and about telling these stories of ordinary people. Can you talk a bit about the ways in which documentary filmmaking has changed in the years that you've been doing it?
Well, I think documentary filmmaking has changed because this is a golden era of documentaries. When I first started making documentaries, and I would go to a cocktail party and somebody say, "Oh, so what do you do?" And I'd say, "Well, I make documentaries." And they'd say, "Oh, I think I'll go get a drink." You know, and people just thought documentaries were educational, but documentaries are full of life, they're funny, they're entertaining, and I think we don't get enough of that sense of truthfulness in our lives, and I love making them. I love meeting new people, seeing what they're about, seeing what their situation is about, and I feel really lucky and blessed to be doing the work that I'm doing.
One aspect of this film that I think bears bringing up is the fact that it was produced through YouTube Red. I mean, this is, of course, what we're doing right now is recording directly onto YouTube, so that irony is not lost on me. I wonder if you could talk a bit about that aspect of the film and how that, I guess, in the ways that different types of distribution have opened up for people like yourself to tell these stories.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube Red, I don't know how many millions of people have seen this film, and that's pretty extraordinary for documentaries. And there's Netflix, there's Amazon, there's HBO, there's A&E. I mean, when I first started, there was nothing. My first film was distributed, but it was distributed theatrically by a man named Don Rugoff, who had 3 theaters, and he just distributed like a regular film, and it was number 10 on Variety's, you know, best list of 100 films. But now anybody can come in, and if they have passion and they really want to do something, they're able to do it, whether it's a documentary series, and people are glued to them. At film festivals, the tickets that sell out first are for documentaries. I mean, at Sundance, people can't get a documentary ticket. And for me, I've never been happier. I mean, this is the most wonderful thing that could have ever happened to our craft.
And in your career, you've won 2 Academy Awards, one for Harlan County, USA, and the other for American Dream. I wonder if you could talk about what that recognition has meant for you, especially, I mean, for your first film to win the Academy Award, what that must have meant for you.
I can't tell you what that was like. First, there was the LA Film Festival that was right before it. And for that year, they had animals or something parading around the festival. I mean, big animals. And I'm thinking, this is what LA is like? And then I went to the Academy Awards, and they seated all the documentarians together. And when our category came up, we crisscrossed arms. And when Harlan County was called, two people pushed me at either side, and my little heart was beating somewhere in the auditorium. And I went up to the front, and there was Lillian Hellman, who wrote Julia and Scoundrel Time, and presenting me with an Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature. I mean, it was the most extraordinary moment of my life. It was really sensational and beautiful. And it also I called right after the Academy Awards, the coal miners and their wives, and they said, "We won an Academy Award, we won an Academy Award." And I was so happy, and they were riding around in cars and honking, and it just really meant that they were important, that their story counted.
Mm-hmm. Something I'm always curious about with documentary filmmakers, I mean, since you're dealing with real people, and you bring up the coal miners again, do you ever wonder about or keep in touch with the people who are subjects of your films after they're completed?
I always keep up with the people. They become part of my extended family. And when we get together, we're as if we never left, and we talk, and it's wonderful.
Well, Barbara, thank you so much, and congratulations on your new film. It was a real pleasure talking with you.
Thank you, and thank you for doing this. And it's been an extraordinary time, and I think that Gigi Gorgeous is a really beautiful film, and it makes people happy coming out of it after they've seen it. So that makes me feel good.
Absolutely.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.